All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon and welcome to our 2021 WiSys Innovation and Aging online student competition. My name is Dr. Katie Turkowitz, and I serve as the WiSys Technology Foundation Campus Champion here at UWGB. I also teach in the communication department, and my role as Campus Champion is to support WiSys in their efforts to promote innovation here and on our branch campuses at UWGB. So we really appreciate you all taking the time to attend and for embracing this virtual format. This year has presented us with many unique challenges, but that has not prevented the UWGB campuses and community from continuing with our mission to educate students and create opportunities just like this for them to utilize their skills and knowledge. So the purpose of today's event is to address some of the issues that are affecting older people in our communities by innovating new solutions. The informational presentations from our student competitors should inspire all of us to improve our world by using the best ideas and the brightest minds to solve current problems. And we're really excited to hear about some of these ideas and plans this afternoon. Now, a brief Zoom functionality disclaimer. So for those of you who are logged in here to Zoom and not watching the live stream from YouTube, please make sure to get the most out of your experience to use the speaker view. And we do ask that you leave your audio and video turned off, except when you are speaking. And please check to see if you've got yourself named properly with a first and last name, so just be easier for identifying people. So thank you very much for that. So now I'm very pleased to turn things over to Brad Ricker from WiSys to give you a quick overview of this important support organization to UWGB before we begin.
Thanks, Katie. Hi, everybody. And I won't take a long time to tell you about WiSys, but many of you are not familiar with us and are wondering why we're part of this event. WiSys is a nonprofit foundation based in Madison that exists to serve 11 comprehensive campuses of the UW system. We have multiple functions, and you can see them on the slide in front of you. We are a tech transfer office, and so we work with people protecting intellectual property and commercializing it, which you can see in the upper right corner. But we also help fund research at campuses throughout the state of Wisconsin to bring ideas further along and help get through the valley of death that sometimes exists between faculty and student and staff's ideas and reality. As part of our mission, we inspire students with educational experiences and opportunities like this. We seek to provide opportunities for faculty to direct their students to the next step of their own education and development. And by building a culture on each campus of innovation, of resourcefulness, we hope and expect that we can make Wisconsin more successful and stronger. So that's why WiSys is here and is happy to be helping to sponsor the 5th Innovation in Aging student competition. With that, I'd like to turn this back over to Katie to introduce our judges. Judges, if you wouldn't mind, would you please turn on your cameras for a minute when Katie introduces you so that people can see who you are. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Okay, well, no competition worth its salt can happen without a distinguished panel of judges, and Innovation in Aging is no exception. We are very pleased and extremely fortunate to have on this year's panel of judges 5 different individuals who bring different levels of history with the competition. So I'll start out with Liza Stefik. Liza is a hospice and palliative care social worker and advanced practice care planning professional for Aspiris Langlade Hospital. She's also a UWGB alumna, holding both bachelor's and master's degrees in social work. And she's a past competitor for this very competition, and she joins us as a judge for the second year in a row. So thank you and welcome, Liza. Our next judge is Brian Walsh, commercialization consultant for the Wisconsin Center for Technology Commercialization at the University of Wisconsin. Brian previously served as the regional associate for WiSys, so Brad's role, and worked here with us on the GB campus on this very same event for several years. So we're pleased to have him back. Brian is an entrepreneur who owned and operated a biotechnology company in southeastern Wisconsin before volunteering to serve in the Peace Corps. Our next judge is Mary Bushy, the Director of Development for Curative Connections in Green Bay. She previously served for 23 years as the Director of the Alzheimer's Association of Northeastern Wisconsin and has expertise in leadership, organizational development and operations, grant administration, and program development. For more than 30 years, she has been a strong advocate for older adults and their families at the local, state, and national levels. Like Liza, she has been a judge for past competitions, and we're really happy to have her back. Our next judge is Matt Geimer, an attorney at Green Bay's Geimer and Orcutt Law Firm and UWGB's Vice Chair of Business Administration. Matt has been a practicing elder law attorney for 10 years and volunteers for the Brown County Aging and Disability Resource Center's Pro Bono Legal Clinic. He's a member of the Wisconsin State Bar's Elder Law and Special Needs section and has published several articles in the Elder Law and Special Needs Journal of Wisconsin. So great to have you, Matt. And then finally, Dr. Jim Warpinski and his adorable dog, adjunct professor for the Medical College of Wisconsin Green Bay and a retired allergist immunologist from the Green Bay area. Jim is a UWGB alumnus and graduated as part of the first enrolled class at the UWGB Shorewood campus. So, and Jim's here as first year serving as a judge along with Matt, so we're thrilled to have you guys here. So we are really grateful to all of these individuals who have donated their time, their expertise, and perspective to help us hold this innovation in aging competition. They will be watching and listening as we begin. So now we are going to get started with our first team. First up will be a student team representing the UWGB Engineering Club.
Can we just jump right in?
You can jump right in and I'll give you a 1-minute warning and then let you know when your time is up.
Fantastic.
All right.
So, hello. We are representatives from UWGB's Engineering Club. My name is Jordan.
I'm Ellie.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Andy.
Now, you may notice another name on the screen. That's Caitlin. She's an advisor for our group, and she couldn't be here presenting today because she technically graduated in the spring, but we thought you should meet her. Next slide, please. So this is our friend Caitlin. Now, when we were brainstorming ideas for this competition, she shared with us an interesting story that I would like to share with you today. The other day, she was going to cook herself some spaghetti, and she was going to break the noodles before she put them in the pasta, or before she put them in the boiling water. And let me just emphasize the fact that she was trying to break the noodles. Next slide, please. As a result of an accident she was in recently, she had her wrist fractured, and it has affected many aspects of her life. And just the little things, like trying to break the spaghetti before you cook it. And I can personally resonate with that a lot. You see, as a result of a chronic use injury from work, I experience shooting pains in my wrist every day, and it really affects all the little things like driving, breaking spaghetti, and chopping vegetables. So with that in mind, we started thinking that this whole issue of injuries in the hands, wrists, and forearm merited further investigation. Next slide, please.
Injuries among fingers, hands, wrists, and forearms are more common than they seem to be. According to the World Health Organization, musculoskeletal conditions such as osteoarthritis, tendonitis, and carpal tunnel are the highest cause of physical disability. People with such disorders experience a loss of mobility and independence. Wrist injuries make it nearly impossible to use tools, including one of the most commonly used tools, a knife. This is why we've invented a device that aids in the process of cooking and helps people like our friend Caitlin gain back their independence. Next slide, please.
So there are multiple other available products, such as the ones you see on the screen before you. So there's a cutting board with a knife slotted in there, and then there's a lemon juicer that looks a lot like a thing, you know? So with that, you have to put a lot of force on there. And if you have various wrist ailments and other sorts of stuff that allows your mobility to not be as good, these aren't for you because you have to use excessive amount of force and then it hurts. So it hurts to cook. Next slide, please. And that's why we invented the chopper. And the chopper is basically a cutting board that is designed to have multiple types of items go into it. So things like cucumbers and carrots, and then you just sit there and you chop things. It's very easy to use. You don't have to use a lot of force behind it. And it looks nice. You can put it on your countertop. Next slide, please.
The chopper is designed using 3 simple parts. These parts include the blade, which allows us to cut a myriad of different objects, the locking pin, which allows for any interchangeability with future blade designs that we are currently working on, and finally, the board, which provides a nice, elegant wooden finish that you can stick on top of your counter and display for all, as well as providing a nice, stable, and sturdy cut. Next slide, please. In terms of our customer identification, we originally came up with the idea to assist any of the elderly or people who sometime in their life come up with a disability to their hands, fingers, wrist, or forearm. Cutting is a very difficult action on the tendons, so we intended to create a product that is able to be used by all people, no matter what ailment they have. Generally, we wanted to make this product available to everyone so that we didn't have a sort of basis that made the product more limiting per se. Next slide, please.
Our plan to go from prototype to store shelves involves a 5-step process. Step 1, continue to identify and correct design flaws. 2 features we'd like to add include an ergonomic handle to the blade as well as a locking feature to keep the blade in place. Once we've perfected our model, we can move on to step 2, enhance overall design. In the future, we hope to introduce various blade options and applications that fit the many requirements of cooking. For example, we hope to release an attachment that aids in the cutting of bread. Once we've perfected our model and its applications, we can move on to step 3, obtain intellectual property rights. Once a patent is obtained, we can move on to step 4, introducing consumer options, where various sizes and finishes will be introduced. For example, we hope to release a model with a granite finish for those who appreciate the form as well as the function. Finally, step 5 is to explore full automation. Our vision of this would be to introduce an application that goes in between the user's hand and the food to help create even slices, much like a deli slicer. Next slide, please.
You have 1 minute.
So in conclusion here, we have made the chopper into a prototype. It looks nice, helps lots of people who are elderly, and then also people who have various ailments. And also to put into another market, we have chefs and other people as well that we can sell this object to. So it's going to make the struggle of cutting things. You're sitting there with a knife, chopping things up. It's very frustrating. Now you're just chopping things down like a paper machine cutter. And that's fun. It puts the fun back in cooking. And then lastly, we're going to be like the Doobie Brothers and taking it to the streets, bring it to market, haggle a little bit, and then make people feel like they can be independent and live fully again. Thank you so much for watching, and good night.
Thank you. Now we're going to open it up to questions from the judges for the team number 1. So we've got about 2 minutes. So judges, if you have any questions you'd like to ask, please feel free to turn on video and audio.
A question, did you survey your intended user group, talking to persons with wrist injuries and maybe trying this out with some of your potential customers to see if it actually helped them?
We have not surveyed anyone per se. From our own experience, we anticipate this would be a good solution. However, before we start getting people to try it, we would like to finish the handle in particular, because that is going to be one of the big distinguishing factors between whether or not you have to do, painful movements with your wrist or whether you don't. So once we have a prototype fully made, we plan on expanding into some more of that.
This is Brian. Nice presentation. How do you envision it getting to market? How do you envision customers actually finding it?
Well, in the short term, we plan on making use of the internet just like we're doing today. It could be something small, like just on Etsy, or hopefully we'll put up a site and sell it there. We can run social media advertising campaigns. We have some members who really like to do that kind of stuff in the engineering club. So hopefully we can start small with what we have and expand.
You have about 1 minute left for judge questions.
Mary Bushy here. Just a comment, excellent presentation. And to me, it sounded like maybe you need to go to see the Shark Tank and present there.
Well, thank you.
Other questions from the judges? All right, that's all then. Thank you.
All right. So our next team is made up of a group of students with the acronym CALM, C-A-L-M. So we're going to hand it over to them for their presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cassie Bougie, and I will be starting my team's presentation today for the Innovation and Aging competition. My team and I are extremely excited to be here to discuss our product with you all today. Have you or anyone you know struggled with the staining of your lips and teeth while drinking your favorite beverages? Color Stop by Calm is here to help. Physical appearance is something that a lot of people, like Team Calm, truly care about, even if we don't like to admit it sometimes. Drinks like red wine can stain lips, teeth, dentures, you name it, which can be really frustrating. Today, we'll describe our product Color Stop and what its capabilities are. First, let's define our problem more clearly. Next slide.
Hello, everybody. I'm Megan. The correlation between the care for physical appearance and wine consumption is relevant to the aging process. With these two in mind, Color Stop would have the goal of fixing this problem that arises from the discoloration of your teeth, lips, or dentures from red wine. Women over 50 make up 17.2% of the overall population, allowing for a large part of the market share. In general, aging is associated with unwelcome changes in physical appearance and dissatisfaction of the body, which is clearly shown in a study done by Hoffmeyer et al. Out of 1,849 women surveyed, more than 50% of them said to dissatisfaction with their personal physical aging. Not only does this market share provide a large amount of women concerned about their appearance, but there's a large correlation with wine consumption. Out of women ages 50 to 59, 12.1% of them drink a half a bottle of wine or that, equivalent 2 to 3 times a week. And that is shown in a survey by Science Norway. This is 4 times higher than women that are ages 30 to 39. With aging comes opportunity for leisure and spending due to the availability of time and money. Both of these aspects can be combined to represent the problem of wine hindering one's appearance. Next slide, please.
So there are some current solutions approaches out there for these kind of problems, but they may not be as convenient as our product. So right now, whitening strips are out there. However, whitening strips can only be used on natural teeth, and they cannot be used on dentures or teeth with caps. So that product won't be necessary for a lot of people. Another current solution is wine wipes. These do work, but they're sort of inconvenient because you have to wipe your lips every time you use them while you're drinking a colored beverage. Straws are also out there to help with this, but most of the time you won't see wine drinkers using a straw to drink their wine. And then there is a toothbrush that you could use, but most people won't want to brush their teeth in public after drinking wine. And the last solution right now that's out there is just to avoid your favorite beverages, which will deprive people of what they like to drink. Next slide. So
just to
our
introduce-
team, what was that? You go ahead,
Sorry, you can
Megan.
go.
Okay.
I was just going to say, just to introduce ourselves, our team is made up of Cassie, Anna, Lisa, and myself, and we are all getting our master's in management from Green Bay.
Perfect. That's what I was going to say.
Yep, next slide, please. So to get into more of our product, it is called Color Stop. It's a dual-ended color-resistant product. So on one side, there is a denture and teeth brush. It's kind of hard to see because it's like light. And then on the other side is the chapstick portion. So this is just a really light coating product that you put on your dentures or teeth and lips before drinking wine, coffee, or your favorite colored beverage. Next slide, please. And then, so our customer identification is women, specifically in the age of 40 to 80 years old, who have a medium to high income. They are more concerned about their appearance and they have an importance around that. And then we're also going to be targeting retired women who are like in friend groups, hanging out together, regularly drinking wine. Maybe they're having wine Wednesday nights and they care about how they're looking in front of their friends and other people around them. Next slide, please.
You have 1 minute left.
So our development plan basically is we did the market research on it. Next step would be to go to concept development, which we have came up with a concept for it. And then prototyping, which we showed the prototype of what it would look like. And then into design and development, and then into deployment, where we can actually market the product. Next slide.
So all in all, we just want our target market to be able to enjoy their favorite drinks without having any second thoughts or doubts. And that will be with our denture stain prevention, and then the lip stain prevention will also having the lip color stain intact. Next slide, please.
Thank you all for taking the time to listen to our presentation. This is where you can find additional information regarding myself and our team members. Are there any questions that you have for us?
Yep, so let's turn it over to the judges. We have 2 minutes for questioning.
This is Matt Geimer. I have a comment and a question. Yes, I agree that I don't see very many people drinking wine out of a straw. So I think I think that's probably accurate. I've never seen it. Maybe, I don't know, maybe that's a thing, but I've never seen that. My question is, what would be so this is something that you put on your teeth or your lips or your dentures. What would be the texture of that? Is there a taste to that? I know that I'm not a wine drinker, but I know like some wine people are very particular about what their wine tastes like. And would your product, you think, affect that?
So like wine wipes, those were created because of that reason. They don't want their wine to be tasting differently. So our product definitely wouldn't have a flavor to it and it wouldn't affect wine tasting. And it would probably be just more of like a chapstick feel.
Hi, this is Brian. Great job. I never heard of wine wipes before, so that was interesting. So what motivated you to pick this particular project and maybe wine as the first example of how this would work? What inspired you, I guess, on this idea?
1 minute left.
Okay. So we all discussed common problems we had, and one thing that we talked about is when it comes to appearance, we noticed that when you have your favorite colored beverages, whether it's wine, Gatorade, anything that dyes your lips, sometimes you avoid those products because of your appearance, because when you're drinking wine in a classy situation, you don't want to have to worry about that. And we thought this would be perfect for this demographic because usually elderly women are drinking more wine from our research than Gatorade and other colored beverages. So it could be multi-use, but that would be our main target demographic.
Okay, thanks.
Hi, Team Comm. This is Liza. Quick question for you regarding any thoughts that you have given to making this product more accessible to other income earners besides medium to high?
I think that this product can be definitely marketed to lower income for sure. The reason we were thinking medium to high is because we could market it at vineyards or with specialty wine dealers to kind of make it a package for people that purchase wine. But if we wanted to market it to a lower income, we could obviously make the price lower and then market it for more affordable wines, possibly.
Thank you.
Okay. Your time is up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now I want a glass of wine. Okay, so we've got our third student competitor, Sherry Branham.
Hi, my name is Sherry Branham. I am a student at UWGB in the social work program. And what I'd like to discuss is technology literacy training for older adults. Next slide. So why did I choose this topic? In the last year of my grandma's life, we encountered many barriers, and one that I could recognize was technology. She would have benefited from smart lights, an Alexa to help her keep track of the day, and medication reminders. She loved seeing her great-grandchildren on Facebook who didn't live nearby, but she was never able to access these devices. My mom's 62 and she needs help with technology too. So I have a question. Have you ever known of an older adult who needed help with using technology devices? Next slide. So the demographics of older adults in Wisconsin there's around 985,000 people aged 65 or older, and it's supposed to increase in the next 20 years. 6.7% of 65 and up are below poverty level, and 41.1% had a household income below $35,000. In the US, the older adults are the fastest growing segment and most frequent consumers of health information. Since the older adults will surpass younger generations, there will be less healthcare in the future. Next slide. So what does the research say? Around 73% of the older population need help with technology. Only 26% were confident in using technology. Internet use drops around 70 years old and drops significantly around 80 years old. More research done shows accessibility and the use of technology can improve cognitive functioning and quality of life in older adults. Older adults are also more receptive to technology when it comes to their health, and this is important when patient portals are becoming so common. On a research done on a patient portal, only 3% of older adults were considered proficient in health literacy, and they had the lowest health literacy scores. So as you can see in the graphic, older adults agree on the positive impact of technology on society. So what is the problem? Next slide. Is lack of technology literacy a concern? Well, there's a lack of knowledge in technology use and they may not have the help they need. Lack of understanding, which can cause frustration. They're unable to keep up with the changing technology and this can decrease confidence. Older adults have a lack of access to devices to make life easier. They may have a fear of technology, not knowing how to utilize it properly. They may feel overwhelmed by technology, and it inhibits communication with family not nearby. There's also increased dependency upon family if they have them, depending on them for guidance in using technology. So as the graphic on the slide mentions, older adults say they need help with using technology. So this can be seen as a need. Next slide. So what is available? The ADRC has one staff who's dedicated to doing in-home training, and they also have online tutorials. Curative Connection provides step-by-step instructions on how to access virtual programming, but does not go into the home. And options for living Options for Independent Living has an assistive technology room at their location. When it comes to accessibility, there are tons of YouTube tutorials on online resources, but if somebody needs technology training, they may not be able to access this and they may not have help. Then when it comes to affordability, low-income individuals may have trouble paying for these services. Next slide. So what is the plan? The goal would be free one-on-one technology training for older adults by partnering with UWGB and interested organizations such as the ADRC. The in-home training would include assistance with smartphones, tablets, computer, or any technological device they need, such as Alexa or doing smart lights in their home, how to utilize Zoom, how to do e-visits with providers, help downloading apps, and accessing technology training tutorials that are already in place. Steps would be present a written proposal to key UWGB professors. The departments of interest would be IT, computer science, and social work, different helping professions. Then create a meeting between UWGB and the interested organizations. Recruit students at UWGB and propose possible internship credits, develop a referral process between community partners. An interagency agreement would be developed, such as a memorandum of understanding, and then initiate the contact between students and older adults who need services. I also have future ambitions on my slide, so I'll briefly talk about those pamphlets. It would have the directions of everything, every device, and how to use it. And they could also provide that to the individual. And then an app for sign up, news and media exposure, donations and grants for funding, and expand to community, and then healthcare. Next slide. So what would the anticipated outcomes be?
Sherry, your time is almost up.
It would improve accessibility to technology devices for older adults, improve technology literacy, and give access to in-home technologies to make life easier, build confidence, encourage health literacy, which will improve daily self-management, improve quality of life, enhance social interactions, foster independence for older adults, encourage intergenerational interactions, and also give students the education they need.
Okay, time is up. Time for questions from the judges. Unmute yourself, Jim.
Hi, Jim Warpinski. That was a fascinating presentation, and one that I think has tremendous application. If you look at the outcomes, I think you might then look at what is the key outcome for the seniors, and that is if the technology would help them stay in their own home longer and at a better quality of life. I think that will motivate them as much. There are many other community groups that you could also look at. Could you, outside the university setting, just a couple thoughts, just churches, community groups, even high schools, teaching the kids how do you go to your grandparents and help them stay connected. So thanks for this presentation.
Thank you.
Hi, Sherry. It's Brian. Nice job. Did you see any models that gave you inspiration in kind of putting together your development plan? Is this like anything else?
There's 1 minute left. 1 minute left for
the
questions.
ADRC does do in-home technology training, and whom I spoke to, sounds like there's more interest than they're able to offer for the individuals. I never encountered a plan. I mean, there might be one that I just couldn't find, but yeah, that the ADRC offering in-home help is the closest I found.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions from the judges? We have time for one more quick one. Okay, if not, I'm going to turn it over to Katie and Brad. Thanks, Sherry.
Thank you.
Well, thank you to all the teams for your presentations and your thoughts on improving the quality of life for our aging population. Your efforts warrant careful consideration by our judges, who will now move into a breakout room, along with 2 of our planning committee members, to deliberate. In the meantime, the rest of us are fortunate to have Devin Christensen to provide a keynote address. Devin has almost 30 years of experience working in the public sector on grant and system development, program planning, teaching, volunteer management, and implementing aging and disability programs, including providing direct services. She knows of which she speaks. Devin has worked at the Bay Area Agency on Aging, Brown County Human Services Department, UW Green Bay, and the ADRC of Brown County, where she is the current director. In addition, Devin has worked as a rural senior center director, nursing home social worker, and a long-term care hospital link coordinator. She writes, I'm inspired by students with big dreams and big ideas. I also love coffee and opened a coffee house where persons with disabilities are the baristas. If you are in the Green Bay area, please come to our walk-up window at 300 South Adams. I just had to say that. Devin did not make me say that. So Devin, please turn on your camera and microphone, and everybody, please join me in listening to this inspiring talk by Devin Christensen.
Thank you so much. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes. All right. So I'm delighted to be here today, and I was not given a huge amount of time, so I'm going to do my best to give you some thoughtful comments about innovation, and just really, I guess I'm here to be some of the entertainment while the judges deliberate. So hoping I can do a little of that too. So next slide. Just very quickly, at the ADRC, Brad gave a nice shameless plug about our coffee house, but we also do many, many other things that today is not the day to go through, but just know we're the central contact point for older people and people with disabilities to help them stay independent in their homes. Next slide. So our values, I wanted to just point out these values as we continue to reflect on them. If you see one of them is to inspire innovation right there. That's one of the values that the ADRC holds. So innovation permeates everything that we do. And even though people might think of us as a human service organization, we really need to engage the world in a different way than simply delivering services. Next slide. So I want to talk a little bit about what has COVID done. So what it really has done in my head as I'm watching what's happening around the world in this last year is that COVID's been an accelerator. Many of those things that have bubbled to the surface, or maybe innovative products or ideas, were sped up very quickly through innovation. And what's going to happen during this last year, where people had time to sit and think and reflect, is many more innovative ideas have come forward. So we're going to see in this next year, millions of new businesses being created, products launched, and new services transformed, all because of COVID. It's the silver lining. Next slide. So one of the things, according to the Wall Street Journal, I just want to read this quote because I think it's really telling about what do we now know about older persons? What is innovation doing? What has COVID done? And the Wall Street Journal writes that more people will age at home. This has always been an issue for older people and people with disabilities, staying independent. But COVID has only reinforced that in a more serious way. Where most adults say they want to remain, there will be a boom in innovations improving life in later years. And with COVID giving us a reason to reflect on mortality, we will plan how we want to live and die more deliberately. Next slide. So we have big problems. Innovation is inspired by big problems. In my line of work, we call them wicked problems because they are not or easily solved. These are social problems that we need innovation to help us with. These problems can be solved with high-tech and low-tech solutions. As you saw from the presentations today, a lovely combination of some things that are higher tech and things that are lower tech. So some of the things that have come to the forefront in this last year are issues of isolation and loneliness, people having access to care, grief and loss, access to food and services, and end-of-life care. These are some of the big problems that have only been highlighted further. Next slide. So what have been some of the responses? What are some of the things? They're iPads. We all know about iPads, right? Well, in this arena, grandpads, they're called, are something that's new on the scene, kind of a high-tech solution to make technology easy. So big buttons, very easy to use, very quickly people can learn to get on it, connect with families. It was a way of reducing isolation and loneliness. There's even some home care agencies that offer this as part of their service so that when they come in to provide health care, they also give them a grandpad that the older person can use so they can stay connected in more significant ways. Next slide. The ever familiar Alexa, right? We all know about Alexa, but Alexa has come onto the scene in a new way. They have a new product called LifePod, which is really a voice-activated caregiver. Alexa can already be programmed to help you remember phone numbers and take your pills, and even be a companion that you can call and talk to Alexa, and Alexa will talk back. Just ask her anything. But the LifePod pod program really is a way of scheduling out somebody's entire day, checking in to see if they're okay, alerting people if the person is not okay or doesn't respond, making sure that people are bathing and dressing and all those sorts of things. So I ask, is Alexa the next man's best friend? Next slide. Speaking of man's best friend, something that has jumped onto the scene are robotic pets. This might look like a really nice, innocent little puppy, but this puppy is robotic, and their logo is no poop, just play. So folks don't have to take the pet outside. There's no vet visits, none of those complexities, no barking unless you ask it to. But these robotic pets are more than just a children's toy. They're very interactive. They have eye contact. They will respond when you speak to them. They're voice activated. They do many different movements. They have cats and dogs, depending on what you're looking for. They have found some really great beneficial uses for persons with dementia that help them keep company. But in the arena of isolation and loneliness, some of the recent studies that are out show that robotic pets are very close to real pets in terms of companionship and support. Next slide. So think about a granny flat, for example. These granny flats have really sprung up on the West Coast. And what is really cool about them is that a person may have been living in their big house. They no longer want to continue to take care of their big house, and they can buy an accessory dwelling. As you can see here, there's a small bridge between it. The older person can move into what we would call a granny flat, and the younger family moves into the front big house where their kids, etc., can live and grow. There's many benefits: intergenerational interaction, caregiving for that older person, keeping them at home longer. They've done a lot of research around making sure that there are not additional tax consequences. And one of the best advantages is once your older person is no longer with you, they're detachable and you can just move them off. Next slide. Access to care. So you just heard a lot about medicine, access to care, people seeing their physicians. You know how important that is, particularly during COVID. Telemedicine was really something that was being used in a very moderate fashion. When COVID hit, Bellin, for example, like quadrupled their telemedicine contacts in 1 month. older persons had fear about going into the doctor's clinic and getting exposed to COVID. So they needed to do things at home, and it really helped reduce barriers like transportation, getting to the doctor's office. Many of the people that I am speaking to really are saying that this is really here to stay. People are not going to want telemedicine to go away because they can access a physician very easily and quickly, a nurse practitioner 24 hours a day. When you need it, you can chat, etc. So this is really something that is challenging all of our systems to adapt to the needs of older persons in a way that we weren't ready to do, but COVID accelerated for us that we need to do more of. Next slide. Grief and loss. So this is something that funeral homes, I think, never anticipated was going to be something they were going to be dealing with. One, the amount of death and the boon in their business, quite unfortunately, but finding ways to help people deal with grief and loss at a time that they can't be together. One of the advantages is family members from all of the country were able to actually participate in a funeral. But we have a lot to learn about what is it like to have a virtual funeral and not actually be able to digest and work through the grief that you might have in person. Support groups have sprung up in a very serious way online and have been a great, again, silver lining to give people access to the support that they need, a really complex problem that's being solved through technology. We will say that there's a lot of delayed grief that's going to have to be dealt with once people can return being together, but it has changed the face of what funeral homes are like and what they do for a business. Next slide. So food delivery, access. This is a UW-Madison campus idea, which is hot on the scenes, and we are already entertaining these ideas in our community about having drones or small robots be able to be available to simply use a phone, make an order, and it's going to come down the street all on its own and find its way to your door. We've been doing some future planning here and have seen in Meals on Wheels program that we deliver that there's really some opportunities to reduce our reliance on volunteers and actually find some automated ways to get food to people. Next slide. The thing that's going to probably change the face of older adults' lives more than almost anything is going to be driverless cars. They're already there, but they're continuing to get smarter, faster, and less expensive. The minute that an older person is going to be able to plug in to a GPS the location they need to go and simply sit in a car and it will take them where they need to go and bring them home is going to change the face of what it means to live independently. It is often the biggest deal breaker for people being able to stay at home because they can't grocery shop, can't get to the doctor, they have to live on a bus line or have access to other public transportation, which is a humongous problem for older people. What you see on the right is the Tiger. It's actually adapted from a driverless car that can also go to a walking position. Can you even imagine what that would be like? Because the car can only get you to the street in front of your house. If that car can also morph into something that can actually take the steps, go through other kinds of terrain, imagine where this will take us. Next slide. So not everything is high tech, and I was impressed by hearing the several of the presentations today, but getting people access and knowing how to use technology is a true barrier, and we need to figure out that problem. Those things can exist, but if people can't use them, they're not going to be helpful to us. So I wanted to make sure I pointed out some of the low tech innovations that have happened that really are also equally life-changing. What you see on the top is actually called hip pads. Now, we've kind of learned at the end of the day that they may not be super effective at stopping hip fractures, but hip fractures are a tremendous problem for older folks. The mortality rate of somebody who breaks a hip and goes into the hospital is 57%. So we want to stop falls and stop hip fractures. While maybe they're not as effective as we'd like, you can certainly do a character part on Downton Abbey after using your hip pads if you would like. But one of the really effective game changers has been the hippo. If you see this down there, older women in countries that folks need to carry water from large bodies of water back to their houses. Imagine carrying that on your head and what that would mean for your ability to stay at home or to stay hydrated, some life sustaining issues. The hippo is actually a big plastic drum that was a really smart, low-tech innovation, much like the choppa. We need to chop vegetables. What can we do in a low-tech way that really can make that simpler and easier? Here we have where they took that 1-gallon pail that they could carry into a 75-gallon pail that can be pushed or rolled. An amazing aha moment that changes the face of people's ability to survive. Next slide. So last but not least, this is actually a new innovative idea. When we talk about the end of life, there's been a development of a robotic arm and machine that helps stay with people at the end of their life, that strokes their arms and actually has a voice that tells them, you're going to be okay, I'm here. The number of people who have had to die alone during COVID has been absolutely tragic. Not being able to have family members close or coming in, that this spurred an innovation like this. So we're going to see even more end-of-life technology changes. Next slide. So at the end, I just want to say, who are the innovators? And I always remind people that the person doing the innovation most often creates the best invention if they are the user, if they understand it. Much like many of you talked about today, it was spurred by something you had seen or done or experienced. You become an expert when it is your life. This is 91-year-old innovator Barbara Beskind. She is a retired occupational therapist who has created an incredible amount of adaptive aids as she began to experience age herself. And she became a brilliant innovator. She did say, though, do I keep this idea to myself until I can find a manufacturer, or do I reveal these things and give away the store? Well, I'm 91 now. I don't want to have time. I don't have time or money to wait around for the patents. So there becomes an ethical dilemma. If you discover something wonderful, are you solving a social program that makes the world a better place? Or are you doing it in order to capitalize on some financial benefits? Next slide. So I would just ask all of you in this short time, what do you see? What has it been that you've noticed, the changes, the accelerations, and the opportunities with all of your great projects? Keep thinking big, keep dreaming big. There's so much on the horizon to do, and I'm thrilled to be a part of this today, and thank you for all of your time.
Wow, Devin, that was awesome. And I'm embarrassed that we forced you to accelerate your talk because the judges are still deliberating.
Oh.
So
maybe there's questions or people would like to ask something.
I was going to say, so if anyone has a question, please turn on your camera and microphone and ask Devin. And Denny Christoph was going to go next, but I'm going to fill the void a little bit with you, Devin, while we wait for the judging crew to come back. And, you really touched on so many wonderful things. I was just in awe as I looked at your examples and listened to what you were saying. Can you pick out one or two that you think are really primed for making an impact on our world in the next 6 to 12 months? For example, you talked about how some of the technologies like Alexa already are being, so I'm behind when I say in the next 6 months, because in the last 6 months, they've really already stepped up. But I wonder, given a little more time, if you wanted to point out any particular area that you personally see as most exciting and most relevant.
So I do think the issue of having technology be accessible to people is a humongous issue. So we can have all of these large technological advancements, but if your target population is older people and they can't use that technology, then there really is a tremendous barrier. So that's a problem we do need to solve. And you can see all of the things we can do with medicine and grocery. We've figured out a lot of things that people could have access to if they can get on the internet. If there's broadband, for example, if I didn't get into all of that, but people need access to internet capabilities, and how do we do that in a very smart and fast way? Right now, just getting the vaccine, as you know, with COVID, the majority of the ways that you can sign up is online. And so an organization like mine is spending a lot of time connecting with people to help sign up for them because they can't, they don't have access to the internet, or they're in a rural community, etc. So I would say that's one. The second, I think, as I mentioned, is transportation. We do a unmet needs study every single year of all the people who call my agency, the crisis center, and 211. Hands down, transportation in this community is one of the largest barriers. And so I know that driverless cars seem like they're so far away, but they're actually closer than we know. We already have trucks that are driving without, manpower behind them. It's getting smarter, it's getting more accurate. And the day that people can access that themselves will be that'll be a total game changer for people staying at home. It's less that they need the medical care and more that they need to be able to get out into the community to get what they need.
Yeah. Wow. Well, this is an exciting time in this field, and like you pointed out, the coronavirus pandemic has accelerated some things and really fit in. And I agree with you on so many fronts. Are there any other questions? I'm looking at the judges' chamber, which is our breakout room, and they're still in there. And now I know how the TV and radio hosts feel sometimes when they have to fill the void.
Well, I'd be happy just to make a couple of comments on each one of the presentations today. So one of the things that resonated with the CHAPA for me was that I believe they said they were making it out of different materials. So you might have a chopping board, or then you might have a granite surface, etc., so that people could have a different look. That's a very new way of thinking about innovative products for older adults. I will say that one of the things that we have seen is before people just wanted function, but now what people are asking for are things that fit into their decor. And I am not kidding you, when I've had a call of somebody who wanted their commode to match their bedspread. So it is a way of thinking differently about what people want, and it's not just the basic necessities. Same with Calm and their color stop, saying this is also about a world where people have more leisure time and they are caring about how they see themselves. When we have a lifespan that is 30 years post-retirement, and you're going to be engaged with your friends and your family, and you're still thinking about ways that you're engaged in the community with all of your friends, and how your appearance is important. I think often we have an ageist perspective about older adults, thinking that it doesn't matter to them. So I think that's a very good slant about saying, yes, older people care about how they look and how they can be engaged socially. That's really important. And then again, the literacy training about getting people access to support with tech, as you saw through all of those products, it's going to be more than just the internet and the iPad. You're going to be asking people to program your Alexa, help you understand a smartphone. People are 70% of older adults have technology, but they don't always know how to use it easily, and that's a huge barrier. So each one of these has their own unique slant on the problems that really are there. And again, I'd also just like to reinforce that this is about social problems, and that's what innovation really has an opportunity to do here. So those folks who work in human services may not always be seen as folks who are looking to run towards, product development. And even if we aren't looking for product development for a profit, we are looking for product development to solve social problems. So that's the importance of this work and people thinking creatively, because we can't continue to use the same things we always have. We have to look for those small things that are going to make a huge difference.
Great, great. Thank you so much. Denny, are you ready to maybe share your comments with us? I hate to cue you up sooner than we know that the judges are back, but let's go for it if you are. Thank you, Devin.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Devin. That was really informative. So, hi everyone. My name's Denny Christoph. I'm a junior in the mechanical engineering program at UW Green Bay, and I'm also a student ambassador for WiSys. And I was fortunate enough to be on the winning team last year for innovation in aging. So it was really cool to be able to see everyone's presentations today. So I just wanted to briefly outline what I do as a student ambassador for WiSys. And so Rita Ebbett and I are the student ambassadors at UW Green Bay, and we served on the planning committee this year for the event. We also are responsible for outreach to students, faculty, and we inform them of different programs at WiSys and in partnership with the UW system. So I guess it's pretty cool as a part-time job to be able to be part of that. And then as an alumnus of Innovations in Aging and a member of the engineering club on campus, I just wanted to emphasize the incredible opportunities that are available to UWGB students. I guess what we gain from our classes is fairly obvious, but I guess what's less understood is how important it is to get out and apply what we learn to the real world. I guess that's different for everyone, but I've been fortunate enough to be able to do that as an ambassador for WiSys. So I guess I would encourage you to maybe explore that route if you have the opportunity.
Well, great. Welcome back, judges, and Katie and Susan. We are anxiously awaiting you. Devin gave a fabulous keynote presentation, and I'm sorry you missed it. But she really touched on a lot of things that are relevant in a lot of different areas, from robotics to technology like Alexa to people that really impact and can impact going forward our older populations. So with that, Denny has spoken, and so Susan, it's good to see you, and I want to say now comes the moment that our competitors, at least, have really been waiting for. And Dean Susan Gallagher-Lepak is not only a strong voice for educational opportunities of all types on campus and founder of this competition, but also an active member of the planning committee that is dedicated to organizing this event each year. So it's a real pleasure to ask her to provide us with the results of the judges' deliberations. Susan.
Thanks, Brad. And before we do that, I must tell you that we are indebted to our judges this year for their thoughtful and attentive efforts to evaluate the presentations. Lisa, Brian, Mary, Matt, and Jim, words don't do enough to thank you and show our appreciation, but I'm afraid that's all I have to give you today because of our virtual format. So I do say thank you so much. So without further delay, I want to announce the first place award winner of the 2021 Innovation in Aging Student Idea Competition. And that winner is Technology Literacy with Sherry Branham. Congratulations, Sherry. We will be sending feedback to the teams. Excellent job. Sherry, do you want to pop on the screen and wave?
Yeah, hi, I was trying to unmute, I couldn't. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
That top prize award is $1,000. And I hope that's useful to you, whatever, paying off your tuition bill or whatever. And good to see your smile and your wonderful little person next to you. So congratulations to you, Sherry.
Thank you.
I'll go on. I'm very proud to share the second place award winner, and that goes to the Engineering Club. And that award is set a prize of $750. Congratulations to the UWGB Engineering Club. Top-notch work, and we will be sharing feedback with you as well. The Engineering Club is also fortunate to receive an additional $100 prize for being a student org, and that $100 goes to their student org. So if the Engineering Club can pop on and wave, we'd love to see your faces. I don't see your faces. Anyone from the Engineering Club?
We saw them.
Okay, perfect.
Hi, Susan.
Perfect. Oh, terrific. We see Caitlin. Terrific. Congratulations to the Engineering Club. Thumbs up. Okay, and the third place award goes to Color Stop by COM, and they will receive an actually upgraded cash prize, more than we initially posted, of $500. Congratulations to Team COM, and if you can turn on your videos and wave. Congratulations, Team COM.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Terrific. Oh, top notch. We see Anna for sure. Maybe others. Good. I want you to know that all of you have added to our knowledge and understanding of aging and other issues, and provided us with important information about how people, specifically, but not limited to students at UW Green Bay, can provide solutions to problems that older adults face. This is inspiring for us, and we look forward to all the innovations that all of you have in your future. You have a template for innovation, and it can be applied in all kinds of areas. So we hope that you'll continue to innovate in our world to make it better. So thank you to all the teams for your participation and the work that you've done, especially in this unique COVID year where I know students have really faced some additional challenges. So thank you to all the teams.
Yes, I want to second Susan's gratitude to the competitors for preparing and participating in today's event. I also want to thank my colleagues on the planning committee and the judges for their contributions, without which we couldn't have made this event happen. And finally, to Devin Christensen for her willingness to share her experiences and wisdom from the trenches with us today as the keynote speaker. Katie, are you there?
I'm here.
All right.
Well, Brad and Susan have both thanked a number of people who've made significant contributions to the success of this event. But I want to thank every one of you who attended the Innovation and Aging competition today in whatever capacity or role that you had. I don't know who or how many people were able to log on and join us in the live stream, but knowing that you're all out there interested and engaging with your fellow human beings, especially during this pandemic, is inspiring. Knowing that there's a strong interest in addressing the issues of our aging population is encouraging. And it's encouraging to all of us to continue our strong interest in addressing issues for the aging population and to just continue to keep innovating. So a better world is indeed possible, and we are fortunate to have seen and heard today some ideas for how to accomplish that. So thank you all so very much and have a wonderful evening.